All right, what's going on, everybody? Greg Gamba here with Anand Sanghvi, aka Lucci.
Yo,
And today,
you still don't know how to say this name right. You know what I'm saying? Like every time you try to say it, like I know you're trying to say it correctly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you might as well just say it horribly. You know, just fuck it
I
up.
mean, if you want, you can send me like instructions, just letter by letter, on how to break it down, and we can work on it. I'll practice it for the rest of the summer.
All right, sounds good.
But anyways, to get back to the topic at hand today, we are going to be talking about life, trading, and the transition between starting out and barely being able to keep your head above water, and obviously becoming increasingly profitable, and how everything changes around that. Obviously, we have Anand here as our model, so let's kind of get right into the beginning of it.
Definitely.
We all know about how you started and the prop shop, but what I want to know about is your first profitable month.
Right.
All right, do you remember it?
Well, I mean, are you talking about like really profitable, like change your life profitable, or
No, 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 no.
profitable like first profitable month type
The
thing?
first time where it wasn't back and forth, you know what I mean? Where you didn't make 20 and then lose 15 the next day. The first
Mm-hmm.
month where you were consistent.
All right, yeah, I remember that day. Yeah, I remember that month. Yeah, I think I made like five. I think I made 5 grand. I think I made 5 grand in the month. And then the next month I made another five, and then I think I had like a $20,000 month.
Okay, so what was the first thing you did? Did you go tell everybody? Did you go spend it?
I
What
mean, the first thing is the mindset because the key thing to note, when you're trading and you're thinking about trading and you're thinking about how much money there is on the table, how much, money other people are making, how much money you want to make. And then how you sometimes budget out those goals like, okay, I
Right.
want to make this much and this much. You got to realize that you've been thinking about that stuff so much that in reality, in your mind, it's already happened. You know what I'm saying? So that when you get there, it's already accounted for. It's already spoken for. You know what I mean? Whatever money that you make, whatever money that sits in your hand, it's already, like, you already planned what you're going to do with it by the time that you have it. So, the only thing that you do when you start making money is like, okay, where can I get this to? Like, how do I push this? How do I get to the next level? So I think for me, having my first $5,000 month, I was like, okay, this is going to happen every single month now. And that was a key takeaway. Not that it did me any good. This was a bad thing that this was sort of a bad mentality that I adopted. And when you start thinking like, okay, I'm going to make 5,000 and 10,000 every single month, that means I can live like I'm making 5,000 to 10,000 every single month. And what does that mean? That means, all right, I can get an apartment now, I can get a car now, I can pay some bills here, I can take a vacation, I can do all this other stuff that somebody with a $100,000 a year salary would do. And then oftentimes you'll even stretch the boundary because you'll be like, in your head, you'll be like, okay, if I can make 5,000, I can make 10, I can make 20, I can do all this shit. And you might even spend beyond, the money in your hand, simply because in your mind, like, you're already there. And in reality, you're still far behind, where you need to be.
So did you find that you were putting yourself in a little bit of trouble as far as credit
Definitely.
cards and what you were
Definitely.
spending? I mean, did you take
Definitely.
your people out? Like
I
what?
mean, well, no. I mean, that comes later. That comes later. That's the
Okay.
next stage,
So you were
So
smart about that from the start.
So we'll get into that. And then, by the way, like, that comes to you. Like,
Right.
those people attack you, and they only attack you when they see, when they see something on the table. So I'm sure you'll want us to get into that. But
Yeah.
I would say that, as far as like spending and all that kind of stuff, like, I absolutely, like, I would spend a little bit more than what I was on the hook for, or whatever the case is, and racking up credit card or whatever the case is, and assuming that the next month I'm going to be able to make the 10 and cover all the debt, cover everything, and that's not even to mention all the sacrifices that you have to make just to get there. I mean, you're talking about a year into trading.
Right.
You're not even talking about all the debt and the stupid decisions racked up just to stretch a year out with no freaking money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother world of problems too.
All right. So then, at what point did things start changing? I mean, at what point did you start to really view all of this differently?
I mean, after you fuck up. After you fuck up, like it's almost like you have to, unless you take somebody else's lessons to heart and you really try to curb some of the decisions that you might make because you're emotional or you are on a high because you just made a bunch of money. I think I started to think rationally after I took after I took some really really big losers, that threatened to take it all away from me. And you got to go back and you got to reassess, like, okay, how did I get here? What were the things that motivated me to make these trades? And is that the right motivation? Is that really the right way to go about trading as a career? And think about your longevity and things like that. So people have to fuck up. You know what I mean? Look, we can sit here and tell people.
Yeah.
I sit here and tell people in my classes all the time. Like, it has nothing to do half the time with your strategy or whatever. It has to do with the way that you approach making money in the market. Has to do with your decisions outside of the market that you do with your money. A lot of the times that we're motivated by making $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, that's oftentimes the places where we make bad decisions on our trades because we're locked into this dollar amount that we need to make just to support a lifestyle that we didn't think we could ever stop supporting.
Right. So then,
yeah.
to try and keep towards things outside the market, because obviously you want to stick towards what got you there. You want to stick with that strategy or whatever you did
Right.
to make that money. But external from the market, what started changing the world around you? Like, how did you start viewing even the simple things? I mean, you had money for your child and
Right.
yourself and your friends.
Right.
So how did that start to evolve?
So you're saying how did the environment also shift
Yes.
the way that you trade, or is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you're talking about pressures. Now you're talking about environmental pressures that weren't there, that all of a sudden are there, that come along with a increased lifestyle, with a lifestyle where people, they've sort of changed their opinions about you. I mean, let's face it, the first year or anybody who starts trading and who is not making money, your friends are going to shit on you, your parents are going to tell you what the fuck are you doing, and, all of that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares until there's money on the table. When there's money on the table, everybody's chasing after you then, So opportunities, choices, options that didn't exist before, they start popping out, not only to you, but to the people around you. So your friends start asking you for loans. Your friends start asking you, hey, can you kick in 10 grand on this little thing that I'm trying to do? Your parents might ask you to pay off some shit for them. Whatever the case is, your whole circle now, sees you doing a little bit better, and not that they want to take it away from you, but at the end of the day, they might see an opportunity where they can help themselves out here through your success and things like that, and your goodwill and your good nature and all that. And I'm not saying don't do this for your circle or whatever, but I am saying, when you add that pressure now onto your trading, what do you think happens? What do you think happens as far as your decision making goes, and as far as you saying yes to a trade that you shouldn't be fucking saying yes to, where you should be saying no to. So a lot of that goes through the window. When, let's say, you've loaned your friend 20 grand, now you got nothing to show for it. You got bills too, and you all of a sudden haven't been making money for 2 months, which you've already assumed you would, and now all of a sudden you got nothing to show for it. What do you think is going to happen? Push comes to shove, you're going to make a stupid call, and more so than anything, you're going to end up, nowhere.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I know I've had the ability to meet some of your friends, and I know how close to them you are. So how did that kind of make you feel when they were asking you for help, or they were asking you for a little chunk here, a little chunk there, a
Yeah.
bar tab? I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen you do that now, but we're talking
Yeah.
about in the beginning.
Yeah, and in the beginning, in the beginning you'll do it because you almost want to do it, and you almost feel like
Right.
you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Because in the beginning there's ego and then there's pride, and that ego will coast you a lot farther than you thought. So in the beginning when you start making money, you actually want it all. You want all that. You want everybody to come to you because you feel like that. You feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you've accomplished, and you want people to see that as well. So you're all for throwing money down at the bar. You're all for taking everybody out, or whatever the case is. Helping your friends out, helping your girl out, whatever the case is. And then after you've taken some losses, and after you realize the pressures that all that stuff does to you as far as trading goes and your decision making goes, and again, you got to fuck up a couple of times to realize, like, hey, I got to say no to this stuff because I'm not in a position where I can help somebody out until I'm fine for a couple of years. I have cash in the bank, and I can really do this.
Right. So, I mean, the way I looked at it when I was trading heavy last summer, I kept it a secret.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't let anybody,
Yeah.
even my parents, nobody knew
Yeah.
how big I was becoming. Obviously, that all kind of got pissed away, but
Yeah.
I found
Well,
that to
for
be
you,
really,
did it
really
get
helpful.
pissed away for the same reasons? Did it get
No,
pissed away for
no,
similar reasons?
no, it got pissed away because I was trying to make more.
Well, okay. So, all right, but you understand what I'm saying. So
Oh,
you,
yeah,
you,
so the
you got
pressure
to
and everything.
yeah. So you got to the 100, but in your mind, you wanted more. You wanted more. You wanted more.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, I was also using leverage. So I had the ability to leverage out the 100 and try and make 2, 3, 4. I mean, obviously, in my particular blow up, I was trying to sell premium, which I felt at the time would be a good idea because the market wasn't doing anything. But I mean, it goes back, living above your means. I couldn't suffice any margin calls. I was 21. I had literally, I think, $1,000 in my bank account at the time, and I was trading a $100,000 account.
Right.
Right. It doesn't add up. It doesn't work that way.
Right. But again, in your head, and when you're on
In
that
my head,
kind
I
of
was
run,
owed it.
Exactly. Exactly.
It
You're
was
owed it from the
mine.
market because of all the shit that you put in, and you want more. You want more. So it doesn't even matter what money you have in your bank account. You're still gonna go. You're still gonna go.
Oh, yeah.
You've made 100,000. Like that stuff doesn't even matter. If I can turn 100,000 into 1,000,000, I don't have to worry about bank accounts and shit like that. So that's all we
Yeah.
think it through
Just
sometimes.
just pay everything in cash.
And it takes people to get smacked the fuck up to realize, like, hey, I got to go about this rationally. I got to think about my mindset. I got to think about how I'm treating the people around me and all that kind of stuff. I got to think about the way that I'm living. You got to think about all that kind of stuff, which, sadly to say, most people don't until it's too late.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, for the new guys, the newbies, and the real novice traders, would you say the mindset aspect, as far as preparing for the success, is one of the most important factors? I mean, because if
Dude,
you know what's going to happen,
yeah,
beforehand-
that's a great way to look at it because nobody talks like that. You know what I mean? Nobody preaches stuff like that. You know what I mean? So to tell a newbie, like, hey, listen, you're gonna work hard and you're gonna see this money. And what are you going to do when you get this money? Like that's a really cool concept that, again, like nobody really puts on the table because there's it's not something that anybody thinks they need to be taught. And then number two is that, when presented with that assumption, have you ever talked to those people that say, if I had $1 million, I would I would buy 2 properties, I would do this, and I would do that, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm always in the mix, like, motherfucker, if I put $1 million on your lap right now, let me tell you how much you would not do as far as that plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, like, people love to say that, this is what I do, and these are the people that I take care of, and all that kind of stuff. Again, when you actually make that cash, when that cash is sitting in your hand, those rules and those things often go through the window. And again, it's just you and that cash, and then all the temptations and all the things that you previously didn't think was possible, it all becomes possible. you know, and how are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle that mentally? Like that's a big thing to deal with that most people never really get into that kind of thing. So would I say to newbies, like, think about it? I don't know, man, because most newbies, you know, let's face it, most newbies don't make it, right? So how are you and I going to sit here and single out a newbie that really has it and all that kind of stuff? I'll tell you what, like there's been a couple people in the chat room, you know, that I can definitely single out that I've even helped, you know, get to that place, and I've even talked about, hey, listen, you know, you got this cash now, don't fuck it up, you know what I mean? Don't fuck it up. Think about it. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't be stupid, you know. Just realize you need that as a cushion to keep going, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So. Some people take that advice. Other people are pretty stubborn. And let's face it, you know, this is all about the ego, the pride. So people are very stubborn, and you can't really tell them shit until they come to you. You know what I'm saying? Until they come to you and say, "Hey, man, you were right," you know. And then, you know, by then it's like, all right, you know, now what are you gonna do?
Right. So I mean, obviously, in the beginning, once you make money, you want things. Right, like the new car, you want the credit cards, all that stuff. But how important do you think it is, looking back, to understand the difference between wanting and needing? You know, like you want all those new things, but you really need to do this instead.
Rephrase that one though for me.
Okay. I guess where to put your money, how to spend it. Right, because obviously you're going to take money out once you start making money. That's the nature of what we do, right? But where how do you know where to put it?
Okay, all right. So you're saying section out like want versus need as far as how you should spend your gains and things like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So again, I mean, this has got to be tailored to you know, it's kind of a personality thing, but it's also a situational thing. So for me, for example, you know, and it's been difficult too. It's been difficult. So for the past 3 years, we have all these businesses, right, and we have all these new things that require capital, that require this, that require that. So you know, I'm conscious of this, and I constantly want to push more money towards those things because of this big picture end goal that we're all trying to reach, right? But if you guys are sitting there trading and trying to make $100,000 a year, or look at it from a 2 or 3 year perspective, it starts to get easier to understand what you should do with it. You know, so if your perspective is too short term, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions with your money. You really will make a lot of bad decisions with your money. If your perspective is on like a 5-year plan or like a 10-year plan, you're going to make good decisions. You're going to make better decisions. So I would say lengthen the time horizons that you think, you know, all these things are going to start to happen for you. Lengthen the time horizons for how long you think it's going to take you to become profitable and all that kind of stuff. And that'll help you be more calm, be more patient, and be more sort of valid here with your money decisions, things like that.
Right. All right, so now I kind of want to go into the lifestyle side of things, if we can. So obviously being a trader is it's a time-consuming lifestyle. I mean, obviously, if you're not trading, you're looking at something, you're always trying to prepare for the next day. How would you compare the beginning type of lifestyle and what you were doing then, as far as preparation and trying to expand, versus what you're doing now? I mean, do you think you're doing more work on the trading side of things for yourself now than you were back then?
Okay, so as far as work and effort inputted into strategy, becoming a better trader, I'm not putting close to the effort that I was, you know, when I was starting out. I mean, when I was starting out, I was reading tape after the market ended for 4 or 5 hours a day. I was trying to study the psychology of things. I was trying to study new strategies, all that kind of stuff. So I would sit at this office for like 12 hours a day and do absolutely nothing but this. But once you realize the game is there, and once you realize you have a good strategy, then it's it's just you against yourself. It's all about, okay, I'm trading, I'm trading to the best of my ability right now. Let's go ahead and put on some juice and let's try to make some money. And then it's like, okay, this environment sucks. I'm not really getting paid here. Let me try to cut it off and not do too much damage. So then it's all just psychological management. So the work now is purely psychological sort of management, and that's really all it comes to be, and that's a lot less time than trying to figure out exactly how to make money in the market.
Okay. All right. So I do see we have a couple of questions here. If we can jump over to that. The first one being from Kevin. He wants to know what we do in the morning to get in the right mindset for trading, and do we ever not trade when we know we're not in the right mindset, even though it's your job to trade?
Right, and this is this is the never-ending plight for most traders. And Kevin really hits it on the head right here. And again, guys, basically what he's asking is, when you know you're fucking up, when you know, let's say the environment is just not paying your strategy out, are you guys able to not trade and basically have the foresight to tell yourself, like, okay, I'm not doing that well right now, market's not really paying me out, so let me just go ahead and not trade. The issue is that most people don't have the ability to do that. Why? Because everything else trumps the way that they're looking at the market. So Kevin, I'm almost willing to bet that instinctively you wake up in the morning, you look at everything, you look at what's been going on, chances are, to within a fair degree of certainty, you know if you're going to make some good money that day or not. Chances are. And chances are a lot of you others are as well. Now, the problem is that the environmental pressures, let's say you got to make money here, or let's say you're trying to make back some losers, whatever the case is, that oftentimes trumps your sentiment and your read on the market, which sucks. And that's the human emotion part of the game, where you have to be able to start controlling and you have to be able to start acting on. So oftentimes people won't decide to not trade until it's a little bit too late, which sucks as well. The ones who can, again, are on top of their mindset, they listen to it, they think about it, those are the ones that can really step away. And just to note, guys, for most of you out here, some of the best traders, some of the best traders out there, they trade like 2 or 3 times out of the year, and then they don't do shit. They don't do shit the rest of the time. Summer months or whatever, these guys disappear, completely disappear. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Most of the time, you guys know you shouldn't be trading, but you still do. Why? Because of whatever pressure is behind you, and whatever emotion is behind you. And that's what you got to start learning and paying attention to and starting to understand. I would say with everybody asking about this 300-point drop in the markets today, everybody wants to comment on this. This webinar is not about that at all. However, yes, the market dropped 300 points. I hope you didn't get your ass spanked. And that's all we'll say about that.
LinkedIn beat, though.
LinkedIn beat.
But to go back to what we were talking about, I think there's a level of fear associated with not trading, and
yes.
I think it's most prolific in the summer because,
yes.
I mean, the reality is we don't know when this slow period is going to end.
So what is that fear? Right. So what is that fear?
That's missing the big move.
The fear of missing out, right?
Yes.
And that's that's another sort of prideful ego thing, because when you really look at the market, you know what conclusion you come to? Like, there's fucking money on the table every day. It's not going to go anywhere. And how many trades do you miss? Like, how many trades do you miss on a daily basis? Even just looking at that statistic alone, you would be able to confirm those fears by just accepting the fact that, hey, I'm going to miss some of these things. It's all good. But most of the time we have to continue to remind ourselves about that, because we get caught up in the bullshit, caught up in the pressures, caught up in, whatever it is that makes you sit there and trade. So absolutely, the fear of missing out is huge for a lot of people,
Okay. Do you want to get to Oa's question?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Wondering your guys' thoughts on when to take profits. Just had a trade where I could have made more money, but part of the profits are now gone. And also how you guys went from trading small size positions to larger size. Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you my experience here in the beginning to move from small position sizing up to larger positions. All it is it's stomach tolerance is what it is. And I wrote about this. Like if you go to the psychology section on Lucci.com, you'll see all these psychology of trading articles. One of those is called stomach tolerance, right? And let's say you're trading 1 lots or 10 contract lots in options, or you're trading 100 share lots in stocks. To up that to 500 or to up that to 1,000 shares or whatever, all it is just you getting used to the emotional swings when there's a little bit more money on the line, right? So it's just you getting used to that P&L fluctuation, which is going to be a lot larger than what you're used to. And again, it takes some time. It definitely takes some time. So I would say slowly build up into larger size positions, and just do it as practice for your stomach. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't even go to these for like really profitable trades. I would just go to them for testing your ability to handle the emotions when you're looking at the P&L swings. I would say first off, that's how you want to slowly get into it. And then once you realize it's not that big of a deal, you're going to be able to stomach those losses and gains. That's it. You roll into the next one and keep going.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So Syed has a question about, on $1,000 trade, what's the max loss you would take? I mean, this is going to take you back real far.
Dude, but that's the thing. Like Syed, I was trading equities. You know what I mean? So I was trading equities. So I'll give you something comparative. When I was trading 100 share lots in the market, my max loss, guys, was $20. Actually, it was $25. So if I hit a loss of $25, the system would automatically take me out of the trade, right? So that was it. Like that was the most that I could risk. I think it was like 25 or $35 on a 100 share position. So that means 30 cents out of the money, basically. So if I hopped in and it went 30 cents against me, boom, I would go ahead and get out, right? And that was in 2006. That was in 2006, 2007.
But
so,
were you prepared to lose $1,000?
No.
I mean,
no.
You weren't.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely
Okay.
not. And then when I slowly got to there, because remember, this is equities. This is not options.
Right.
This is not options. When I started trading options, like I realized the way that I traded and the size I traded, I could lose a shit ton more than what I ever could, messing around with the equities world. Simply because like I take concentrated positions. So for $1,000 trade in the options world, max loss I would take is probably like $300. $300, somewhere around there. That's what I would be willing to take on an options trade with $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we got time for today. Unless there's more questions.
I think we're missing lifestyle though. I think we're missing a lot of lifestyle stuff. So after you make it, like I think we missed a lot about after you make it, and after you have money and after you've made hundreds of thousands of dollars and $1 million, like what happens then? You know what I mean? Like that's.
So then have you splurged yet? I mean, because you had your big trade, right? And obviously now you want another one to kind of mirror that. But what did you spend that money on?
Yeah, so
I've seen the shoe collection.
So now we got to talk lifestyle, now we got to talk lifestyle. So guys, like 2009, I pulled in several $1 million, and when that money is there, and by the way, like you've been working for this for 3 or 4 years or however long you have. And you know what? Like sometimes when it just happens, like all this stuff has already happened in your mind. So when it comes around to it, you don't even appreciate it. And that's one of the biggest problems that I had. And I think because I didn't appreciate it, I didn't respect it. I didn't respect what happened basically. In 2009, I disappeared, dude. I disappeared. I traveled. I spent all kinds of money.
Where'd you go?
Dude, you name it, man. Asia, Europe, South America, Caribbean, you name it. You name it. And I spent a lot of time there. and I also invested in so many bullshit businesses, man. Like I invested in maybe 6 to 8 businesses, maybe $20,000 to $100,000 each, and guess how many I got my money back on? Guess how
One.
many I got? One. I got my money back on one fucking business opportunity. You know what I mean? And you think you can do these things, right? Because you don't think, you're not thinking about 2 years from now. You're not thinking about 5 years from now or anything. And then finally I got back home, I sat down and I looked at everything and I was like, "Oh my God." Number one, like I love the lifestyle that I built, but my second thought was, damn, I need more money. If I want to live like this, like I don't have enough money. And so that's why I came back to work, man. And that's why you're sitting in front of me, and that's why we're doing these fucking webinars.
Looking back, do you wish you'd done things differently?
Of course,
not taking that 2-year span off. I mean, you were at the very top.
Of course, absolutely. Like I regret. There's a lot that I wish I could go back on and change and things like that. And all that bullshit about people saying, "Oh, you can't live life without regrets." Like fuck you, man. That is the dumbest statement I have ever heard in my entire life. I challenge anyone to be in that position and not fucking regret, certain decisions that you make and all that. So absolutely, I learned how to say no more often. I learned, okay, a little bit, obviously a lot more about money management, so when that money does come in, make sure you park something, make sure you buy something, as far as real estate or as far as something, park it, put some cash away for a rainy day, so all those things. So you get older, you know what I mean? You grow up a little bit, you've made your mistakes, and so now it's time to really think about the future. Now it's time to really think 5 years down, 10 years down the road, which again, I didn't do when that money was in my hands. I mean, dude, I was 25, you know what I'm saying? I was 25.
Right.
And when you're 25, you got $1 million in your hand, man, what would you do? You know what I mean? I mean, you're 24 right now, right?
I'm 22.
Whatever the fuck ever, man. It's the same thing. So you're 22. What would you do with $1 million in your pocket right now, man? And be honest about it.
Honest to God, I would try and get it leveraged out as much as I could.
And you would go for more?
Hell the fuck yeah.
So you wouldn't even spend? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, when I had the $100,000, I think across the board along the way, I think I only spent $5,000, like throughout the entire 2-month span. But
okay. I mean, let's say you had that. Let's say you had that cash just sitting. You know what I mean? Like, what would you do? I mean, you follow Blazarian. You follow Blazarian on fucking Instagram. Like, I know what you want to do.
He also has $100 million. I can't really do all the things I want to do with $1 million.
Okay, but so you want that kind of money? That's what you want.
I want $1 billion. I want to retire at 30.
So you see what I mean?
That is what I want. That is my end game.
Think about that. If that's your goal in life, and Kabir is asking you a question, you better answer that shit.
Hell yes, I lost $100,000. I lost it all, and I lost it all yesterday, a year ago.
And yesterday was the anniversary, Kabir, where he lost that 100,000. I mean, we have a whole story on that. It's back there somewhere on the website.
Oh yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website or whatever. But anyways, case in point, like if these are your goals, and you know what I mean, and you're out there to make these big stacks. Remember, like all this shit has already happened in your mind, and you just keep rolling forward. So my advice, even to somebody like yourself, Greg, is that even though like I think you can do all that stuff, and I think you can make all that money. Like, that pressure is a lot to move on, man. You know what I mean? And oftentimes that pressure causes you to make some fucking outlandish decisions. And, and then you end up paying for it. We got another question here from how am I supposed to say this name? Is it Hoa or Ho or what am I supposed to say? She got the Vietnamese, I don't know if it's a she or a he.
I'm too white to say stuff like that.
So what are you working on right now to grow in your trading? That's a great question. That is a great question. So as far as what I'm working on right now, it's purely psychological. So I have a lot of things that I need to work on as far as my sort of aggression as far as in certain types of market environments where there's just no juice. So again, like there's a lot of things that I need to hold myself accountable for when I come back to trading, which would be like mid-August or September. Honestly, the market just dropped 300 points. these earnings calls are getting pretty crazy, so it's a pretty damn good time to probably come back to trading right now. So as far as me, there's certain environments where I tend to push things. There's certain environments where, my strategies are not working, where I'm still pushing those things, forcing trades, things like that. So that's what I got to work on.
Right.
Travis has got a great question. How do you deal with the haters when you're making it big? I mean, it's more like how you're dealing with haters when you're big. You have so much confidence when you're making money that you don't care. Like, it's fun to you that you have haters. But when you have haters when you're fucking losing, that shit hurts. You know what I mean? Like, that shit hurts, because then you'll actually sit there and listen to them. I can tell you that from personal experience. You know what I mean? And then, let's face it, you guys are doing trading here is not something that everybody is going to be okay with you doing. Your parents, your people around you, so even people close to you are going to hate on you even making the decision to do it in the first place. They're going to say it's a dying enterprise, and you can't make it. Nobody has made it, right? So you're going to hear all that kind of stuff no matter what. And then there are some people that just cannot do anything for themselves. And it makes them feel better to just shit on everybody else's parade or whatever the case is. And there's nothing you can really do. There's nothing you can really do with them except block them out and try not to let it get to you. But people do say some nasty shit. People do say some real nasty shit, and if you listen to it, it can bring you down, and it can even stop you from winning. I mean, there's a lot of situations where. People, you might be on a hot streak, and you start getting into it with a bunch of haters, and all of a sudden you end up on a losing streak, right? This game is purely mental. So if you look at it from that perspective, anything that fucks with your mental is not good for you. It's not good for you. A girlfriend that doesn't like what you're doing, a boyfriend that doesn't like what you're doing, you know what I mean? Parents that are shitting on you, whatever. Like, that's not good for you if you're going to end up doing this. And if you're really going to take this seriously. Like, that's enough pressure to make you do dumb shit in the market, So, again, this whole thing is mental. And, managing all these different, changes in the mental things, that's a big deal. Numerology, yeah. I mean, I equate him to the start of my, I think I lost like $1 million in maybe 3 months. I made it all back.
I remember that.
I made it all back, but at the same time, like, shit. I was really getting into it with certain haters and things like that, and it's so ridiculous, And again, that's like a growth thing where you get older and you're just like, fuck everybody, you know what I mean? So that's what I am now. Everybody that asks me questions and incessant questions on what are you doing, this and that, blah blah blah, like fuck all of you, and it makes me so happy to say it now, like dude, just fuck you. Just say something else, please. Just say something else, please. Fuck you again. You know what I mean? It's just very nice and easy now. It rolls off the tongue easier. Like, I just don't care anymore. You know what I mean? I know what I'm out here to do. I have my goals, and that's where I'm going, regardless of what everybody has to say.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Do we have any other questions here, guys? I think that's it.
No, that's all I see.
All right, guys.
I mean, the only thing I'd like to add is obviously this is your last live boot camp.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just real quick, how do you feel about that? I mean, this is a big chunk of your life that's now gone.
Yeah. I mean, while we're talking about, lifestyle changes and things like that, oftentimes, like, you go through changes in your life where, certain things were cool and they're not cool anymore. So for me, you guys got to realize, like, for the last 4 years, I have been running a chat room. I have been writing articles. I've been hustling on the side. I've been trading for 8 hours a fucking day. I've been pumping out video lessons. I've been doing all kinds of shit behind the scenes that, again, this is for the last 3-4 years, right? And I was able to manage that and still make money. But there was always something missing. There was always something missing as to why I didn't make as much as I should have, when I came back to trading in 2011. And now, I've realized, like, hey, listen, this is all great. Having these other businesses are great, and all this, and we've grown to a place that's really awesome that I didn't think we could get to. And now that we're here, it's time for everybody to do what they're supposed to do. And what I'm supposed to do is fucking smoke it out trading. That's what my job is. That's what I'm here on this planet to do. You know, and that's how I could best serve everybody else around me, everybody else in the business. So that's what I'm going to do. So I don't want to teach live classes anymore. You know, I don't want to sit in a chat room every single day. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have those responsibilities right now. The only thing I want to do is focus on my mental game and make the kind of money that I was meant to make out here in the market. So that's, you know, that's where I'm at. So I have Greg and everybody else there at the office signing on to that whole thing. They're gonna go ahead and take that burden away, you know, so I can really do this. I can really do this the way I want to, you know. So that's kind of where we're at.
All right. Well, that's all we got for you guys today. Any questions? Be sure to email me, Greg@sanglucci.com, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys, take care.